Saskatchewan continues to top the charts when it comes to economic and population growth, and many credit the province's success to its vast array of natural resources, some good fortune, and a little help from government. The Saskatchewan Party government, that is. The party, led by the popular and well-liked Brad Wall, has become a dominant force in the province's political landscape since forming government in 2007. But before that, Saskatchewan's political climate was very different. Between 1944 and 2007, the NDP and its forerunner, the Cooperative Commonwealth Federation, won 12 out of 17 provincial elections. They seemed virtually unstoppable in the 90s as support for the Liberal and Conservative parties continued to dwindle. The Saskatchewan Party government senior advisor, Reg Downs, worked for the opposition in the 90s and remembers those years well.
Because there's these two parties in opposition to the NDP, they would typically split the vote, and the NDP would win most elections with well under 50% of the vote.
It appeared the only way to crush the orange wave was to join forces on the right. He says the idea of creating a new party had been tossed around for years, if not decades, but it was just talk. However, as the province's economy continued to shrink and as young people left the province in droves in search of opportunities elsewhere, he says the call for change grew louder.
This was a province that throughout the 1990s was in pretty serious decline, and there was simply no reason for it. We had all of the resources that we have today. We had all of the potential that we have today. There was just this sense that we were being held back by, frankly, a bad government, and they wanted an alternative.
In 1997, all the years of talk finally turned into action. On August 8th, then Progressive Conservative leader Bill Boyd and Liberal opposition leader Ken Kravets officially announced that many of their members were coming together under one banner with a new name, the Saskatchewan Party. Kravets served as the party's interim leader until 1998. He recently reflected on his early involvement with the party after announcing he would not be running again in the next provincial election in 2016.
That's a bit of a chapter of my life, being that initial group of 4 Liberal MLAs and 4 Conservative MLAs, that group of 8. We formed the Saskatchewan Party. And again, my colleagues chose me as the leader at that time, so I've been very fortunate.
Current MLA June Droughty was one of the former Liberals and the only woman on that side of the House.
I always felt like I was just one of the group. We were starting something new and fantastic, and it was just probably one of the proudest moments I've ever had, knowing that we're changing the face of political history in our province. I had a chance to be part of that as a woman, but more important, as an elected individual.
It was a courageous political move. They were, leaving behind some pretty long-held traditions and labels that were important, but to start something new and better for the province, not just to defeat the NDP, but to see this province finally live up to its potential that we always knew that it had.
The Saskatchewan Party remained in opposition for the next 10 years before they were finally able to make a breakthrough in the 2007 provincial election when they formed a majority government. So how did this newly formed Saskatchewan Party eventually earn the trust of voters? Who were the major players? And when did Brad Wall come into the picture? I'll have the answer to those questions and more next week when we air part 2 of this feature on the rise of the Saskatchewan Party. I'm Lisa Mrazek, and this is a Sun News Network special report. The face of Saskatchewan politics was forever changed in the spring of 1977. A small group of progressive Conservative and Liberal members announced the creation of a new party that they dubbed the Saskatchewan Party. They were hoping to better reflect the growing sentiment for change in the province. In 1998, the Saskatchewan Party elected their first leader, former Reform Party House Leader Alwyn Hermanson. Reg Downs served as Hermanson's chief of staff. He says after the party formed, its 8 members had only 2 years until the next election to nominate 58 candidates, create an entirely new policy platform, and still do all the work of the official opposition.
It was just a tremendous workload, and the result was the Saskatchewan Party actually won the popular vote in the 1999 election. The NDP still won more seats. They were cut to a minority government, which surprised everyone.
The Saskatchewan Party recaptured a lot of rural ridings from the NDP and grew to an opposition of 25 members. In 2001, Hermanson launched his plan to grow Saskatchewan by 100,000 people in the next 10 years.
But at the time, this was just seen as nonsense, and it just bugged us that these people, our government, did not believe in Saskatchewan. We needed to have a change in government get a government in there that believed in this province.
But with voters still uncertain about the young party's intentions, the NDP edged out a majority government in the 2003 provincial election. Hermanson resigned as leader soon after. On March 15, 2004, Brad Wall stepped into the spotlight as the party's new leader. He soon released a more centrist policy platform and an economic vision for Saskatchewan's economy.
I don't think it could be understated the importance of the psyche shift that occurred from Hermanson to Wall's style of leadership, which was, we need to give people hope and energy, and this is a good thing.
As the party's image softened with its young and charismatic leader and new policies that emphasize social issues, they started attracting more support in the cities. By 2007, voters were ready to put their trust in Brad Wall and the Saskatchewan Party. On November 7th, the party won 38 of the province's 58 seats and formed the first centre-right government since 1991. The new government implemented the largest debt reduction, the largest single-year income tax reduction, and the largest infrastructure investment in Saskatchewan history.
And they began to move towards what I'd call fiscal conservatism with heart. They invested in childcare spaces, immigration policy for skilled workers to help businesses in Saskatchewan.
The political winds of change seemed to breathe new life into the prairies. Saskatchewan's once stagnant economy was booming, its once shrinking population was growing, and this generally quiet, unknown place was attracting attention from businesses and investors from around the world.
We have world-class athletes, world-class artists, world-class events. Our premier has been everywhere. It's cool to be from Saskatchewan, and this is new. I would credit that actually to the current premier's approach, and certainly the shift in the party's approach behind him.
The Saskatchewan Party won a landslide victory in the 2011 election, attracting a historic 64% of the popular vote and capturing 49 seats, reducing the NDP to a 9-member opposition. 3 years later, Premier Brad Wall still has the highest approval ratings of all the premiers across Canada, and residents and businesses continue to be excited about the growth and opportunities that exist as far as the eye can see and beyond. Down says growing Saskatchewan has always been the North Star of the party.
Brings renewal into the party, new ideas, and it's always been the goal of this party. Thankfully, we finally got to a point where we could be in government and work to achieve that goal.
I'm Lisa Mrazek, and this is a Sun News Network special report.
You know, it's funny, I practice a lot.